Hello, hello. Okay, students. So now you have an idea as to how to run a multiple linear regression using Excel. So by having followed the previous video done by Miss Anuttara, you can uh, do these questions also. This is there in your part 2 of the lecture slide. So make sure that you have practiced these. For answers for these are there in the slides itself. So practice. After you have come up with the output, check whether your output is matching with this particular output. So there are two questions with regards to multiple linear regression. You can practice both of those questions. Now I'm going to discuss about the dummy variables. The so here, the reason why we have to use a dummy variable is because if there is a categorical variable as an independent variable, the ideal way for you to run a regression is by using a dummy variable. So we can model the effects of the different levels of qualitative independent variable by using what we call as dummy variables. It's also called as the indicator variable. So such variables are usually defined so that they take on two values, either 0 or 1. So here dummy variables, because regression analysis requires numerical data, we could include categorical variables by coding the variables. So if the categorical variable is gender, so for female we can code it as 0 and for male we can code it as 1. For example, in the slides it's given, for example, if one variable represents whether an individual is a college graduate or not, we might code number 0 and no as 0 and yes as 1. If the particular individual that we are considering in our study is a college graduate, just assume that's a college graduate, then that means the answer is yes. So we have to code it as 1. So if the particular individual that we are considering in our study is not a college graduate, we have to code it as 0. So now we are going to discuss a particular example. So look at these examples. Okay, let me share you the uh, okay, this is the example that we are going to discuss. So this particular file is also available in your course web as dummy variable practice question. So look at here. So here you have 4 variables: risk, age, risk, age, pressure, and smoker. So what they have considered is that the risk level may be with regards to the death rate. So if you have considered a particular individual in your study, first they have studied whether the particular individual is a smoker or not, and they have checked the pressure, and they have asked for the age of the particular individual, and accordingly they have calculated the risk rate. So can you all identify what are the independent variables and dependent variables? So you all can see age, pressure, and being a smoker being the independent variables, whereas the risk becoming the dependent variable. So there are multiple independent variables and only one dependent variable. So risk is dependent upon age, pressure, and being a smoker. So when you look at these 3 independent variables, you all can see age and pressure are quantitative variables. So there's no problem for you to run a multiple regression by considering these 2 quantitative independent variables. But look at here you have the smoker, being a smoker or not. So that's a qualitative or categorical variable. So to which extent you can include this particular qualitative variable in your regression model is what we are going to discuss today. So what you can do is that in order to include this particular qualitative or the categorical variable in your regression model, you can uh, code this particular categorical variable, so that we call it as the dummy variable. So I'll have it here, smoke. So what I'm going to do is that if a particular the individual that we have considered is a smoker, I'm going to code it as 1. So here, with respect to the this particular, look at this particular row. So with respect to this particular individual, that means that particular person has been a smoker. That means it's their answer has been, his answer has been yes. So if it is yes, I'm going to code it as 1. 1. That is our uh, dummy variable. So in order to code it as 1, I'm going to use the if condition. So we have used if condition in the initial lecture initially also. So how can you use the if condition? Equal mark start if. So once after you have started the if condition, you can equal mark if, then you can bracket it, you can tab it so that you are getting the particular condition. So what is the logical test? The logical test is if this particular cell, that means if D5 equals yes. So yes has to be put in inside inverted commas. If D5 equals yes, then the value should be, so yeah, if it is yes, we have to code it as 1. If it is false, it should indicate as 0. That means if suppose that if it is this particular row, so this individual has not been a smoker. The answer he has given, whether when he is asked whether he is a smoker or not, the answer is no. So he has put it as no. So we have to, if it's a non-smoker, with respect to that, you should have the code as 0. That is the reason why in the logical test, we are saying that if D5 equals yes, you have to code it as 1. If not, you have to code it as 0. So here you are getting the codes. Okay. When you drag it down, you are getting all the uh, codes. Okay. So here I'll no. It is no. No. Yeah, correct. No? Okay. So we have coded the we are done with coding. We have assigned the dummy variable now. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to take these particular variables also closer to the dummy variable. So now everything seems in quantitative wise. So it seems like that now we can run the regression. So in order to run the regression, go to data analysis, and go to regression, click OK. So here you have to choose the Y range. So what is the Y range? Our dependent variable is Y range. So choose risk. Okay. So what is the X range or the independent range? So from here to here, everything comes here. All the independent variables we have to choose at once, and choose labels, because here I have put the label, so I am choosing labels. So we'll leave it as this, and I want the output in here, closer to this particular running. Okay, fine. We are getting the output for the we are getting the output here. So what are the things that you have to be mindful of? You have to be mindful of adjusted R square. You have to be mindful of the significance for the model, and then you have to be mindful of the p-value for the independent variables. After that, you can come up with the regression equation, regression model. So the adjusted R square seems to be okay because it's 0.84, which simply means that what is meant by this adjusted R square. So it means that 84.97%, I'll type it, 4.97% of the variation of the variation in risk is determined by age, pressure, and whether the person is being a smoker or non-smoker. Age, pressure, and whether the person is smoking or not. Whether the person is smoking. So that's quite okay because it seems like 84.9, that means almost like 85% of the risk is determined by the age of the particular patient, pressure of the particular patient, and whether the particular patient is consuming smoke or not. All right, now look at the significance for the model. So the significance of the model, it seems all right, right? So here it's below 0.05, that simply means that the model is significant. Then look at your independent p-values for independent variables. So here it's 7.49 e to the power. So here these are very small numbers, less than 0. Look at here, it's 0.01. Look at this one, it's a very small number. So what is meant by uh, e to the power 0.5 is that it's going to have several decimal points, which ultimately means that these values are very less than 0.05. So what it means is that all these three independent variables are significant in the model. All right. So now we can come up uh, with the particular prediction model. So here predicted risk equals what? What is the intercept here? It's minus, this is the intercept. I have it. No, 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 no. Okay. Something went wrong. Okay, we'll type it here. Minus 91.75 plus, what is the coefficient of age? 1.07. Here, look at here. 7 into age plus 0.25 into pressure plus smoker is our dummy variable. So smoker to 8.73. So we'll remove this particular. Okay, so when you look at this, this is your wait. We'll check whether we can have it here. Okay, all good. Okay, so this is your model. So what this means is that what is meant by this section is that if the particular individual we have considered in our study is a smoker, there is a risk increased of 8.73 when all the other variables remain constant. So if that particular individual that we have considered in our study is a smoker, that simply means that there is an increased risk rate of 8.73. I hope the dummy variable is clear for you. What you have to understand is that when there is a categorical variable in your study, if you want to run a regression, you can code it. After coding it, you can run it as the usual way. Okay, so that's the end of the dummy variable. So practice the questions here. So here also I have given the screenshots. You have any questions? So screenshot is here. So here I have put previously it's put as D. The reason is because it's a dummy variable. Okay, so this is another question where there is a dummy variable. You can practice it, and so that's it. Okay, thank you then.